Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, my groupmates and I will be going to report about the Neuman system model by Betty Neuman. So first, I would be discussing about the credentials and background of the theorist. So Betty Neuman was born in 1924 in Lowell, Ohio. Her love for nursing started when she took care of her father, which later created her compassion and her chosen career path. In 1947, she completed her initial nursing education with double honors at People's Hospital School of Nursing in Akron, Ohio. So, as a young nurse, she moved to California and worked a variety of nursing roles, which include hospital nurse, school nurse, industrial nurse, and clinical instructor at University of Southern California. She gained her bachelor's degree in public health and psychology with honors in 1957, and in 1966 she received her master's degree in mental health and public health consultation in UCLA, and in 1985 she received her doctoral degree in clinical psychology in Pacific Western University, and in 1998 she received her honorary doctorate at Grand Valley State University, Michigan. So the theory of Betty Neuman, or the Neuman system model, it was developed in 1970 and was published after 2 years. So it was around 1972. So the theory was first published as model for teaching total person approach to patient problems in nursing research.
So, good day, everyone. For the theoretical sources, basically, Newman took inspirations in developing her theory from the following theories and philosophers. So, namely, the general system theory, the Gestalt theory, Marx and Desjardins, Salia's definition of stress, and Kaplan's theory. So, what happened here is that she acquires knowledge from these theories together with her clinical knowledge and teaching expertise to come up with the Newman system model. So, Betty Newman system model examines the patient or client as a complex, multifaceted entity. This is based on general system theory, where living organisms are considered open systems integrating with each other and the environment. So for Gestalt theory, it describes homeostasis as the dynamic process by which an organism maintains its equilibrium and its health under varying conditions. So it's dynamic because it is constantly adjusting to the changes that the systems encounter. So when the stabilizing process falls to some degree, or when the organisms remains in a state of disharmony for too long, illness will probably develop. And if the organism is unable to compensate through the illness, death may result. So for Marx and Desjardins theory, Marx philosophy suggests properties of parts are determined partly by the larger wholes within dynamically organized systems. So, and the Chardin's philosophy, it basically focuses on the wholeness of life.
Definition of stress, which is the non-specific response of the body to any demand made on it. Newman adopts the concept of levels of prevention from Kaplan's conceptual model, year 1964, and relates these preventions to levels of nursing. Tertiary prevention attempts to reduce the residual stress effects and return the client to wellness after treatment. Capers, year 1996, and Newman, year 2002. The Neumann systems model demonstrates a comprehensive conceptual structure relating to stressors, stressor reaction, and prevention treatments. In this theory, Betty Neumann, in her Neumann system model, she uses Salia's definition of stress. The system approach is used as a model's foundation, and it is explained how the system maintains its balance in the face of stressors. The patient is regarded as a system in the Neuman systems paradigm, and it is clarified that the system contains levels of stages that are connected. For the stages or levels of prevention, Neumann uses Kaplan's prevention levels. Kaplan defined three types of prevention: the primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary prevention includes the efforts to stop the problem from beginning in the first place. Secondary prevention includes the interventions that detect a disease early and prevent it from getting worse. Tertiary prevention treats disease or social problems with the goal to improve the quality of life and reduce symptoms of the problem after it has developed.
Now, let's talk about Neuman's system model. When you hear about Neuman's system model, all you need to remember is it talks about stressors and the response to these actual or potential stressors, and it is the nurse's job to maintain stability to the client system through intervention. According to Neumann, it is a unique open system-based perspective that provides a unifying focus for approaching a wide range of concerns. A system acts as a boundary for a single client, a group, or even several groups. A client system is an interaction with the environment that delineates the domain of nursing concerns. Let us discuss the major concept for Neumann's system model. First is the open system. According to Neumann, an open system means there is a continuous flow of input and process, output and feedback. Simply means there is always an interaction between all elements. She believes that a human is an open system. For example, when a person has an interaction with a stressor, the stressor is the input. Whatever happens within the patient's body is the process, and the reaction to this stressor is the output, and then there will be a feedback. Second major concept is the basic structure and energy resources. The basic structure, or also known as the central core, has a lot of survival factors common to all species. We all have our survival factors like our normal body temperature, which are all common to all of us. However, there are also factors in basic structure that are unique, like our genetic features. The third major concept is the client variable. These are actually self-explanatory. Number one is the physiological variable. Of course, physiology refers to the structure and function of the body. Second is the psychological variable, refers to the mental processes and relationship. Number three, it is the socio-cultural variable, which refers to the system function that relate to social and cultural expectations and activities. Number four, the developmental variable that refers to the processes related to the development over their life. And lastly, the spiritual variable that refers to the influence of spiritual beliefs. What Neumann tries to tell us, when we try to make an assessment to the patient, we should assess all of these variables because every one of us are different. I may have a different developmental variable than you, and that is why we should assess all 5 variables. A flexible line of defense is a protective accordion-like mechanism that surrounds and protects the normal line of defense from invasions by stressors. It is dynamic, which means it can be altered. For example, doing a daily exercise. A person who does daily exercise will become more fit, which means they can resist the stressor more than the other person who doesn't do daily exercise. Normal line of defense is an adaptive level of health developed over time and is considered normal for a particular individual, client, or system. It becomes standard for wellness deviance determination. It represents what client has become over time. What is normal for other person may not be normal for other. Last major concept is the line of resistance. Protection factors are activated when stressors have penetrated the normal line of defense, causing reactions, symptomatology. For example, when a person experiences an infection, it means that the normal line of defense has already been invaded, so the line of resistance will be activated, and for example, maybe your WBC will increase and etc.
So, here are the sub-concepts of Neuman's system model. Let's start with the stressor. Stressor is any phenomenon that might penetrate both FLD and NLD. FLD stands for flexible line of defense and NLD stands for normal line of defense, resulting in either a positive or negative outcome. There are three relevant stressors. The first one would be the intrapersonal stressor, are those that occur within the client system boundary and correlate with the internal environment. Next relevant stressor would be the interpersonal stressor, occur outside the client system boundary and are proximal to the system and impact the system. Next, and the last but not the least, the extrapersonal stressor also occur outside the client system boundaries, but are the greater distance from the system than our interpersonal stressor. An example is a social policy. Next would be the stability, a state of balance or harmony requiring energy changes as the client adequately copes with the stressor to retain, attain, or maintain an optimal health level, thus preserving system integrity. Next would be the degree of reaction, the amount of system invisibility resulting from stressor invasion of normal line of defense. Entropy, a process of energy depletion and disorganization, moving the system towards illness or possible to death. Next would be the gentropy, an energy conservation process that increases organization and complexity, moving the system towards stability or a higher degree of wellness. Next would be the input and output, the matter, energy, and information exchange between the client and environment entering or leaving the system at any point in time. Next would be the reconstitution. Following treatment of stressor reaction, the return and maintenance of system stability may result in a higher or lower wellness level. Next would be the prevention as intervention. Intervention modes for nursing action and determinants for both client and nurse entry into the healthcare system. There are three: prevention as intervention. The first one would be the primary prevention, occurs before the system reacts to a stressor. It includes health promotion and wellness maintenance. It focuses on strengthening the flexible line of defense through preventing stress-reducing risk factors. Strategies that might be used includes of immunization, health education, exercise, and a lifestyle change. The next would be the secondary prevention, occurs after the system reacts to a stressor and is provided in terms of existing symptoms. Secondary prevention focuses on strengthening the internal lines and resistance and thus protects the basic structure through appropriate treatments of symptoms. If secondary prevention is unsuccessful and reconstitution does not occur, the basic structure will be unable to support the system, and its intervention and death will occur. The tertiary prevention, the last prevention, occurs after the system has been treated through secondary prevention stages. Its purpose is to maintain wellness or protect the client's system reconstitution by supporting existing strength and preserving energy. Tertiary prevention may begin at any point after system stability has begun re-established. Reconstitution has begun. Tertiary prevention tends to lead back to primary prevention. That's all. Thank you.
I'm James Barba Labrador. and I'll be reporting about human being of B.T. Neuman's system model. So first off, human being is one of the major concepts of B.T. Neuman's system model, and she said that it is an open client system. Open client system means that a client can be anyone, a friend, a stranger, or a family, and that client's condition is constantly changing because of internal and external stressors. Stressors, for example, noise, news, social media, politics, and etc. So that's it. Betty Newman said that human beings has 5 variables. Again, human beings has 5 variables. The first variable, number 1, is physiological. Physiological refers to the body structure and body function of a human being. Again, physiological refers to the body structure and body function of a human being. Second one, number 2, is psychological. This refers to the mental processes of a human being. Again, psychological refers to the mental processes of a human being. This simply talks about how a human beings think. The third one is social-cultural. This simply talks about how an environment influences a human being. Again, social-cultural is simply talking about how an environment influences a human being. Fourth one is spiritual. Spiritual simply talks about the spiritual beliefs of a human being. Again, spiritual simply talks about the spiritual beliefs of a human being. The last variable, number 5, is developmental. Developmental refers to the age-related processes of a human being. Again, developmental refers to the age-related processes of a human being. So those are the 5 variables. Betty Newman also said that a human being is protected by lines of defense. Basically, she's talking about the immune system. So she said when a stressor breaks in, the system is invaded. When the system is invaded, the lines of defense are activated, and when the lines of defense are activated, the body is now on a process called wellness illness continuum. So this process helps the body move toward a greater health and well-being. So that is wellness illness continuum. So that's it for human beings.
Environment. The environment is a vital arena that is germane to the system and its function. The environment may be viewed as all factors that are affected by the system. In human system model, there are 3 relevant environments. These are the internal, the external, and the created environment. In the internal influences are contained within the boundaries of the client system. In other words, they are intrapersonal in nature. The external influences exist outside the client. The creative is unconsciously developed and is used by the client to support protective coping.
The nursing meta-paradigm. Neuman believes that nursing is concerned with the whole person. So, as what Neuman stated, that nursing is a unique profession wherein it focused in assisting individual, families, or group of people in order to provide or in order to maintain a maximum level of wellness. Nurses should serve as coordinator in providing a holistic care for the patient, since this model has a primary aim to provide the stability of the patient. There are 3 levels of reaction.
In Newman's nursing theory, health is defined as the condition or degree of system stability and is viewed as a continuum from wellness to illness exists. When the energy needed to support life is not available, death occurs. Theoretical assertions. So, For Betty Neuman, the nurse and client interact, and nurse are concerned with variables that affect response to stressors, copes by flexing environment, and either changes himself to stressors or stressors to himself. So next is the theories application in nursing process. So there are only three stages of nursing process by Neuman. These are the nursing diagnosis, the nursing goal, and nursing outcome. First is the nursing diagnosis. So it is based on necessity in a thorough assessment and with consideration given to five variables in the stressor areas. So in nursing diagnosis by Neumann, the nurses will be assessing the patients through five in consideration with the five variables. So what are those? Those are the physiological, the psychological, the sociocultural, the developmental, and the spiritual. It was discussed earlier by my group mate. So next is the nursing goals. This must be negotiated with the patient's and nurse perception of variance from wellness, and the nursing outcomes, considered in relation to five variables and achieved through primary, secondary, and tertiary colors interventions. So this in nursing outcomes, it is where the goals are evaluated. So
So the theory application in nursing practice. It provides the framework for understanding the idea of adversity by delineating, sorry if I mispronounce it, the relationship between the parts and whole, the effects of circumstances and the client contacts with his or her environment, which can be applied in these types of patients with long-term diseases or disease. And it also provides a framework for the nurses to provide a holistic care to the patients, the reaction to it, and reconstitution factors that are dynamic in nature.
I am going to discuss about research of the Neuman system model. A significant amount of research has been conducted over the past decade on the components of model to generate nursing theory and use of the model as a conceptual framework to advance nursing, a scientific discipline. So since over the past decades, Neuman's system model has been used since it's convenient and easy to identify and categorize client system stressors, and because of this, researchers use this as their conceptual framework because it lends itself to both quantitative and qualitative methods. So mostly graduate students commonly use this model for dissertation and thesis. The Neuman system model is used extensively to provide a conceptual framework of research projects in the other country. Acceptance by nursing commonly is clearly evident.
Okay, now let's proceed. I'm going to talk about the theory's application in nursing education. The model is well accepted in academy and is used widely as curriculum guide. The model holistic perspectives provides an effective framework for nursing education at all levels. Laurie and Newsom, 1995, has worked equally well to guide equally learning. Researchers, using the model, conceptualize the student and faculty relationship rather than the focus of the client and the nurse in several publications.
So there are 5 types of theory criticism. The first one would be the clarity. Next one will be the simplicity, the generality, the accessibility, and the importance. So let's talk about clarity critic. Neumann presents an abstract concept that are familiar to nurses. The model's essential concept of client, environment, health, and nursing are congruent with the traditional understanding of the nursing meta-paradigm. Concepts defined by Neumann and those borrowed from other disciplines are consistently throughout the model. However, Some authors have criticized the lack of clarity and calling for concept to be defined more completely. Next would be the simplicity. The model concepts are organized in a complex yet systematically logical manner. Neuman state that our concept can be separated for analysis, specific goal setting, and intervention. The concept of prevention as intervention can be used to describe or predict nursing phenomena. The model is complex, therefore, it cannot be described as being simple, yet nurses using the model describe it as easy to understand, and it is used across culture in the wide variety of practice settings.
Generality. The new it is comprehensive and adaptable in a way of guiding the nursing studies and practices in terms of offering a conceptual and providing a holistic viewpoint.
Accessibility of Neumann system model. Early work Hoffman 1982, Lewis and Covarrubias 1989 provide initial documentation of empirical support. The model has been tested and used extensively to guide nursing research. So this model has been tested and used extensively to guide nursing research and continued testing and refinement through the work of the Research Institute and independent nurse research increased the model's empirical precision and research continues and findings from multiple studies that are synthesized.
Newman's conceptual models focuses on the assessment of the client system, how the nursing process uses it as a preventive intervention to improve the quality of care. They actively involve the client in negotiating their goals, which is to aim the high quality of care.